Thank you, Sierra and Vince. Let's get on into the draft here, homie. Ravish, Beatdown, Boulevard. Y'all know what it is, bro. So we are already in here, Beatdown. We see the first two bands come through, and I swear I've seen this movie before because LDLC had the exact same band yesterday.
Yeah, it's not surprising. I mean, given the priority over these picks, like, these bands probably aren't going to change, I think, for the most part, except maybe Vex, which we have been talking about in the pre-show on the desk and stuff like that. That's really the only particular change I'm trying to see overall. I think yesterday really showed us that it's a priority pick you can't give away lightly, and if you do, you have to think to yourself, okay, what are we going to do with it? And like, I understand LDLC, think about banning Vex, but after Chocolate played a great Corky game, they're like, you know what? No, get it out. I don't want to see it.
Man, I turned to you and I saw Draven and then looked back and I saw Jax. It was, you right, bro. I gotta stop getting baited by these picks,
Don't
bro.
look. You can't trust these players.
Wait, no, it's there. Oh.
I told you. What did I tell you?
Every time this happens.
I know, man.
I'm a man with hope. I'm a man with dreams, but sadly, I won't be able to live them out today. But one big thing I did want to point out is that the Gwen's taking off alongside the Corky. We saw Chocolate absolutely pop off with that too. And by the way, this hover is actually really funny because I believe we did mention it before, but Ragnar is actually a big Rengar player too, and even top side as well. So terrorizing players like me top lane, but instead we'll get the Zinja first pick too, and it'll be matched by the Viego, a matchup we saw I think almost throughout the entire day yesterday.
Yeah, we also saw it throughout the almost the last half of last year. It's still very common, still very strong on both ends here. Of course, Zinzao playing more for Jungle Kingdom, and the thing too is it makes me wonder what the mid lane picks are going to look like, because when you see Xin, when I see Jungle Kingdom, I mean we're fighting for Scuttle Crabs, we're going for invades, we're going for aggressive plays, especially when you think about Viego and how he takes time to ramp up. He takes time to get online and get involved in some of these skirmishes earlier on in the game before he hits that level 6 mark. So we'll see. For the moment, both teams prioritizing the AD carries, Jinx and Jhin. A lot of focus this time around.
Yeah. That's also been one of the just the main matches we had as well consistently. I believe the only real change-up we had was, I think, in our last game of the day, LDLC, yesterday. I believe they were the ones who brought out just the Lucianami too. But moving on past that as well, like you're saying, Jhin, a lot more utility focus, right? Basically AD carry. So I do expect to see a lot of the damage for GameWard focus more so on the top side. But remember here, folks, because the TP changed, I was going to say, globals have now become a lot more parity and a lot more interesting. If you can potentially bring them forward, but bot sides locked down for both of these teams, Jinx and Alistar taken by LDLC, and with Jhin and Leona on the back end of it. So both engaged supports, big, beefy boys.
Right, so it's straying away from the enchanters, the ranged matchups that we were kind of talking about and expecting. This time around, they do want to go the beefy route, go for setups, go for engages, and not just in lane, also out of lane. So I'm looking at both DOS and Camellias to roam, affect other lanes, and actually try to have an impact around the map. I know we saw Camellias do the same thing when he was piloting the Leona yesterday in their match. Now, as we look to the next couple of bans, though, I'm kind of hoping we see a Vex ban come through, because yesterday we did see it in a different match. Jhin and Vex together, I think, are very, very powerful because of the fact that you can open things up with that curtain call. You can do so much at range, set it up, slow people, and just make it so that Shadow Surge is easier to land, and the whole team just follows right up.
Exactly, yeah, because the biggest thing out of that too, that Shadow Surge landing every single time was the immediate go button. We're talking a lot about the pre-show as well as to what your engage is going to be, what is going to be your go button for so many of these teams, because they were funneling themselves into simply just one ability. More often than not, these Dragons kick. I'm looking at all your Elite team players. Stop this. But nonetheless, so as they do continue to move on, the bans as they roll through, Jace and Camille taking off, so a lot of top side focus. They want to make sure the Melanic cannot pop off. We mentioned yesterday as well, the Melanic is a big lane bully. He loves playing those carry top laners too. If we mentioned it for GameWard right now, they need damage here to beat them. They want to make sure that, some ideas can't come through, but on the other end, for GameWard, big mid lane picks taking off Xerath and Victor.
Yeah, I especially like the Victor ban. He, I think, has been kind of flying under the radar so far, at least here in this league, just because I think he is very powerful at the moment here. His only real flaw is that early game in the first couple of minutes, you don't get a lot of push, but I think it's a worthy trade-off in most situations here. So for the moment, though, they don't want to bother with it. It seems like the Gragas is coming through, which is very interesting. It's one we haven't seen in quite some time, I think, and it's most likely, just looking at this, going to be in the top lane, and it makes makes me wonder what LDLC are looking for. They want to make sure they have the best mid lane matchup possible, and I think considering the jungle matchup does not favor them in the early minutes, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, and especially considering that Gragas is actually a low-key counter to Recton 2 back when the Gragas top was a really big deal. So if you just take that grasp, you are able to trade pretty evenly up against Recton. So, and I believe that they're kind of scoping out considering Melanic wants to be a lane bully, and considering their damage profile is lacking, of course, if they want more engaged too, this is the way to do it. And Recton and Jin, with those two setups, with the current call and the dominance, have been very, very prominent to make sure that you're funneling teams into just one choke. Instead, that's an instant lock-in on the Gragas. Melon decides, let's go for more poke, and there's that damage you were looking for.
That is very interesting. This is the first Graves top I've seen so far on the patch. So Melanic, like you said, he wants to play for these bully lanes. He wants strength and he wants to scale. I mean, Graves fulfills that very much, as I'm sure you guys, if you've watched Graves top recently, you're familiar with what's called the Negan build. You go shield bow, you go bloodthirster, you basically don't die, and you blow people up here.
That's what I'm saying, bro. That's what's up right there. My man's a One Piece fan, and if any of y'all watching are actually One Piece fans, big fans of y'all as well, man. We out here.
Hit up Ravi's Twitter at RavishingCast. He would love to talk to you about it.
Any anime in general, y'all let me know. I'm there for y'all, bro. I'm a big OP, big any shonens. Yeah, let's talk about it. But let's also talk about what we saw was a little bit of an early invade topside that ultimately led to no fruition.
Right, and that's the thing. It's basically both of these teams just trying to see what early control they can get, see if they can catch somebody out. Especially when you have like Jin Leona. If you catch somebody early on, like immediate, you skill the Deadly Flourish, you skill the Stun or Root, and then you end up getting an early First Blood, or you trade some Summoners. Nothing ends up coming through. And I see so far, ever since then, it's just a bunch of defensive positionings. No one's really going for any aggressive warding, trying to get any early information. I think that's something LDLC will probably want to do, just to get an idea of where Akabane is going to start, because Xin can solo start and not have to get a leash. And that makes it a little scary for Yike, who's thinking, okay, where's this Xin? Is he going to show up at my next buff? I don't know.
Exactly, yeah, and we actually saw it was very, very prominent to actually try to get early warding for many of these teams, too, because the junglers were aware of each other's position throughout the first 5 minutes, and I think almost like 3 games in a row. So no surprises could come about, but we also saw that resulting in a lot more bot side focus. Now, I can't imagine we do see that this game, considering, it's up against Jin Leona as well. They have a lot of setup with a fair amount of disc engage as well. And also past that, on the other end too, we've seen, even though that with the Jin getting pushed in early right now, they always have to be afraid of just the Alistar engage once he hits level 2, considering he is that right now.
Yeah, Alistar definitely needs a lot of his abilities before he actually becomes a threat. But so far, no bot lane is actually going for any sort of early engage, where things are just kind of slow right now. And the matchups are playing up about as much as we'd expect them to. Top lane, Melanic, of course, he is going to get the shove. Ragnar, this is going to be a bit of a tough lane for him here. He's just going to have to do his best to survive. We're going to see whether or not he goes for a more tanky build. Because the Gragas option, you can go AP, where your exploding casks do ridiculous amounts of damage, or you just go tank, and then you are not capable of dying ever. And that's the thing I'm curious about.
I mean, considering he did take Face Rush alongside the tier as well, too, so I imagine he wants to go a little bit more AP heavy, probably just early on, just to make sure he can sustain in lane. And we mentioned this before as well, too. Considering he's getting so far pushback on the tower already, he's up against a poke lane, too. So Gragas right now, him and the tower are going to be holding pinkies at least for the first, 6 minutes, bro. You don't get to see the other side of the lane yet. It is all dark to you. As far as you know, the entire lane is you and 10 feet in front of you. That's all that exists, which I'm personally very familiar with. As you know, I am a perma weak side top in every single matchup, so me and the tower have been best friends since day one, bro.
Yeah, I don't know if that's something you should keep advertising to people. You know what it implies when you say you're weak side in every matchup, right?
No.
Oh, of course it's not. My bad. Why don't we just keep on moving here? Just roll back over to the matchup here. LDLC, Yike actually gets to go ahead, full clear buy, and come back with the Sheen. He doesn't have to run into Akabane, which I think is great. The longer he can just farm it out and reach that level 6 mark, get to that Divine Thunder, I think the better for him here, just so that he can start to have an impact. And speaking of impact, Doss is already on the move, trying to see if he can move with his jungler and potentially set up some vision in the bottom side of the map. This is what we're looking for. When you see the Leona, when you see the Alistar, we're going to see what they're going to be capable of in moving around the map, trying to find these roam timers so that they can surprise somebody in a different lane.
Exactly. And that's generally terrifying considering both of these guys have decently long-range engages.
Sure do.
They can just come out of nowhere with a Zenith Blade, even just a headbutt pulverizer, which, by the way, for all you watching, it is okay if you miss it. I'm just telling myself this considering...
Now, is this for you or is this for them?
No, it's most definitely for me, though. But
God.
I can't imagine a talent player like Doss manages to do so, though. But we see, actually, interestingly enough, Execute decides to back early on, to kind of leave Doss there for a little bit. I imagine they want to kind of feign that both of them gone, so perhaps they'll push under lane a little bit farther. But Doss is still chilling under the bush, and they are actually pinging for this to possibly try to dive him, because Akabane is right nearby. Yike is a little bit far away, but Yike seems to want to focus on mid lane a little bit.
I think because the thing is here, Inax and Chameleos, they probably want to go for a reset themselves, but if Doss is there and he's holding on to the wave, it means that they probably won't get in a recall. They can threaten the freeze, and that means they do have to stay. It's very beneficial because Yike can make his way to the bottom side if he so chooses, and Exakick did get his recall off. He has the Noon Quiver. He is ahead in stats, especially when you consider Inax went for the boot start with 4 pots instead of going for the Doran's Blade or a Longsword.
Which is interesting enough as well, considering Inax, we're respecting a lot more of early skirmishing too, but we also did see this out of LDLC, considering how slow they played just the previous game, right? So they're deciding that they want to focus a lot more on macro, which is a point we raised previously on the desk that, we haven't seen a ton of that as well. A lot of these teams are fight after fight after fight, and then after about the first 10 minutes, they decide, okay, let's focus on dragons too. But speaking of dragons as well here, Nate, you were mentioning before that more often than not, because of the volatility of what could happen, of them changing up the rift, it hasn't been taken yet.
Maybe. That was just speculating. We'll see if that's the reason. It could just be teams focusing on wanting to power farm. I mean, again, when you look at LDLC side, you got Jinx, you got Vex, so hold on a second. Aika?
I was about to say, bro, speaking of Vex, all right, Aika decides to go into, and this is why we were mentioning consistently, bro.
Get rid of the champ.
Yeah.
Just ban it.
Vex is way too good.
Yeah, I mean, you can see how much pressure she has just in the isolated 1v1. You don't get the kill. Checolite is forced to TP, though, meaning they're even in that regard, but it's just so strong right now. You've had consistent priority. I think that's part of what's allowed Yike to basically farm with little to no inhibition, and it even means that he's able to grab this Scuttle Crab, grab this first dragon, and just continue on to stack up these objectives. And they can actually focus their attention on the bot side if they want to go for the Rift Herald.
Both ultimates traded between Ragnar and Melanic too, but Melanic I'm sure is feeling a little bit confident, so considering the Gravesult being out, he can probably try to follow up on this, but he's very low on mana. If he does have a little bit more here too, he can actually win that trade up against the Graves if he manages to keep him around the same length, and especially with the phase rush, the follow-up could be very, very nice. But if we're moving out of the bot side too, in terms of follow-up, what we're already seeing could be a potential party 3v2, but I believe LDLC has got wise to it and decided to back off.
Probably for the best there. I think you don't want to be forcing anything in particular. The thing that's interesting, though, is I'm surprised Akabane and GameWard hadn't tried for any early plays. I mean, you have Jin Leona. There's a lot of potential dive setup there if you have Chameleos, or you could have Chameleos move to another lane and try and make a play with it and just have the follow-up with the Xin Zhao. But so far, level 6, First Blood hasn't come through, and Akabane, I mean, Xin Zhao kind of needs to start using his early power so he can generate a sort of lead. If he doesn't do so, you do end up falling behind when you compare it to Yike, who is going to start out-farming him very soon.
Yeah, especially the vehicle we were mentioning in draft that he can snowball very, very easily too, and considering Akabane is a big laner on strong 2v2s. We've seen this from his overall playstyle from previous teams that he's been on as well. He lives to play around mid as well more often than not. But considering Chocolate has actually been pushed in, especially up against Ike in this matchup too, he has not been able to do a ton against them. And now because of this, LDLC have gotten first Dragon, and now they're also moving towards getting the first Rift.
And you can see it, Doss has already moved up here, same with Chameleos, but the big difference maker is going to be as they fight back and forth. Exakick is on the way. He went for the recall, he bought the pickaxe, he's got a lot of good stats here in this early part of the game. And so if a fight breaks out pretty soon, he's almost there, but it seems like nothing is actually going to come of it. But Ragnar's going to go.
Yeah, they put out the Exploding Castle Nakabane as well. Puts out the ultimate. Right, you said Dawson's already in. That's first one, now finally in. And there's the second.
There's the reset.
Comes down as well. There's one more going in. There's two different fights happening on both different ends. Yak goes in under tower, gets the reset, but Jekyllad manages to jump over the wall.
And there it is, a really nice fight coming through from LDLC, starting with Ragnar with that great exploding cask. And I don't know, we'll see it in the replay, hopefully, but that means not only do they get this Rift Herald, they get 3 kills for nothing. And now they're starting to accelerate themselves here. I mean, this was only going to get harder for GameWard as time went on, and now it's just going to be worse.
Yeah, it's genuinely unfortunate too. I would have thought they would have taken that moment to try to go in a little bit earlier, especially considering their ADC was not nearby at all. In fact, neither were, but you did see Jinx moving forward, so at a certain point they were like, hey, maybe we should try to go in, but instead, they wait till the rift is gone, and then things just go downhill from here.
Yeah, the thing is, too, you just get the engage coming through from the Gragas. He immediately body slams into that exploding cask, displacing people. And in draft, we mentioned how powerful that can be. Yeah. They know that their AD carry is on the way. They see the Jhin farming in the bot lane this entire time, but they know Exakick is on the way. So because of that, they're confident. They can look for the fight. And plus, with Aka being able to engage at long range, it's so easy for them to pick it up. Overall, very clean from LDLC.
Oh, yeah. Very much so, and now with this too, it does give them a little bit of advantage, especially the lane, considering Ragnar did get those 2 kills. Now the AP power should help out just a little bit, but that's still a graze. An overextension can potentially mean death, especially with the Vamp Scepter that he also has, just in his end. But moving on forward too, we mentioned that Melanic, as he goes on forward, he will get very, very scary. But he also wants to make sure that, you know, you don't want to try to get the late game, right? You mentioned the LDLC. They did fortunately have a bit more of an unfortunate late game, but we're only at 11 minutes, so I will hold all contention as I try to do. Get back to the mid lane, though, for now. Akas might be locked up. Okay, that's one more shot. Okay, but they sadly missed the final one. So no curtains being called on either one of these teams, potentially. But Das... looking for another setup. He's up against 3, but he already has the trample stacks rolling. So one auto could be a stun, but as they wait that out, Akabane and Camellias decide to walk away from all this. And it's interesting though, considering that with both of these teams, you know, they continue to try to set up as much as possible in LDLC. They want to push this engage. Beats, you mentioned before, Akabane with Xin is only losing power. Only losing power from here is only just kind of like degrading. It's like as though he was Benjamin Button, but Benjamin Button was born normal and then aged like a day every single second. So that power trough will come sooner rather than later as he continues setting on up his LDLC as well, and I guess the second dragon.
Yeah, and they're stacking them up very constantly, Ravi. You can see it. Now we have the Hextech Dragon coming through. It isn't going to be the Chemtech Soul. It is interesting because the portals finally are coming into play here. I don't think we've seen them yet so far, but it offers a lot of interesting ways to play this game. You're already seeing them used here on the side of LDLC.
Yeah. Like you were saying, yeah. It is actually quite nice, though, considering the LDLC... it's quite nice that the LDLC continue to try to push to the lead as much as possible. That was both dragon stacking. You were mentioning previously that that every single time a team has managed to get the first 2 dragons, they've then also managed to do a lot more with that. And there, Aka finally taking advantage of the matchup, but Jekyllad barely manages to get away every single time.
But man, he's getting harassed a lot by this Vex, and you can see how powerful it is. It's going to be tough. Jekyllad is still going to be this character with the LeBlanc who's going to be able to find these alternate angles and try to assassinate members of LDLC, especially when you look at Exakick. He goes for the Kraken Slayer, full damage build, so no ability to survive burst, really. So that could be an option here, but it is going to be on Jekyllad. We saw him play this way yesterday and able to do these things. Can he actually do the same thing this game and get GameWard another win?
Perhaps. Hopefully. I mean, because considering right now they're not in the greatest position, but perhaps they might be able to turn it around. They're not too far off either, but we're talking a lot about the top side too. Let's talk a little bit about the bot side so far. Now, naturally so, we have seen that bot side have been pretty quiet for certain teams like this one, LDLC. They just want to make sure that both Inax and XK can just farm off as much as possible. Before with Illusion, they wanted a skirmish, but this time they're just letting him chill.
Yeah, I mean, we got a little fight going topside. I like that play from Ragnar. He uses the ults and the flash to see if he can keep Melanik under tower, but it doesn't end up working out here. Overall, I think we have this lane swap coming through as well, just trying to give more gold into this Jinx's pocket. I mean, they already broke the first tower, they've already shoved that wave, and now they can just move into the enemy jungle and continue pushing the face.
Speaking of moving into the enemy jungle, Meg possibly takes a portal that he does not want to be up against. Nakaban is also here. But he cannot let it stun onto him. Good ultimate as well to try to get away. And then knock up on the back.
He's trying.
He's up against 3 Aka. All he can try to do is possibly just fear 1, but he misses. Oh, sadly the support will die. So a nice consolation prize for his turnaround. He goes in up against 3. What a Chad play, but Chads make mistakes sometimes too. And now the domino effect might be in place. LDLC trying to save this, but no, they just lose too.
I don't think that was the play, I'm not going to lie. Aka thinking maybe they can go in, find a quick pick, and just start resetting, but the damage isn't there, especially when you go in on the Leona. It does end up backfiring. You aren't going to be able to play for the Herald. You already lost 2 members. You're just going to have to back this one up. Overall, LDLC still very much in the lead, still in a strong place, but these are the slip-ups that we were talking about that we saw yesterday that can't keep happening.
No, not all. And okay, lands the rocket AoE, just sadly off on the back end. It's just a little bit, yeah. But it's just, like you were mentioning, a little bit call out to them saying, hey, we're still here, we're still chilling. But moving on forward from that, Ragnar yet again fighting up this Melanik, but instead this time with the bot lane switch of 2, this yet again gives them the topside priority, continue to push top tower, and the second Rift Herald, which is Herald, by the way.
Oh, we are not getting into that. we're just gonna move right past that. GameWard don't opt, despite taking out 2 members, they don't opt to go for the Rift Herald. They let it go. They walk back to their side of the map. And that actually is a big deal for LDLC. They are going to continue to be able to take down more turrets, stack more gold in their favor, and continue making plays. Part of it is because Exakick keeps his top lane pushed in, and it's really hard now. This Jinx is starting to come online. Exakick has 2 items, so they don't want to actually go for any fights. But my question is going to start being like, when are we going to see them try and make something happen? They made a nice play onto DOS. They punished the play onto Aka. I love that. But you need to try and continue pushing these advantages you get for yourself. Do something with them. If a neutral is up, you try to fight for it because you will start to run out of time and get outscaled.
I mean, speaking of running out of time right now, Kabani might be running out of time. He runs out of flash too as he has to go over the wall, but at least he stays alive. They don't want to punch him. Oh, here comes it yet again. There we go. That's the play we wanted to see. After we saw a calm through a little bit of healing back. But now, as they can possibly get Exakick too, it could be a very nice possibility. Instead of turning it around, he goes in again with the shadow assault on the Leona this time, but he is now outnumbered. Now, Millie is gone, pushes forward, Anax in trouble, he has no mana, and he will die for his well. Aka, he also has no health? Alright, bro, I respect it. The fact that you want to go forward, giving up your life, but that's 3, and that is going to be sole point, too, for LDLC.
And that is a nice pickup there for Checolat at the end, but it's honestly just picking up scraps at the end of a very strong fight from LDLC. They get that soul point. It is going to be such a big deal for them too, just to be able to get that Hextech soul. It offers a lot of damage in their favor. And the fact is, LDLC, they have just been pushing the pace. Ever since that first fight around the Rift Herald, they have just been ripping them to shreds on the side of GameWard. And they just they won't stop.
They can't stop, won't stop, in fact, and I don't know why they would. I know you did, but that's why I'm here for you. I'll go ahead and pick up the sentences that you cannot complete, my friend.
Thank you.
Well, like you were saying, this is the type of momentum we want to see out of this team. In fact, this is what we consistently seen off of very different teams as well, is that after losing the first 2 dragons, they'll decide instead to play a lot more for scale. We were saying the gamers wants to go more so for the late game type team composition. And wants to try to get at least past 25 minutes, but giving up first 2 dragons and then trying to fight for the 3rd, then essentially just tunnels them. And now, speaking of tunnels, there's one set up right away, considering they don't want to give up this soul.
They can, and you can see it in how GameWard have put all their members on this bottom side of the map. They're trying to take this turret with Checolat already pushing it, and the rest of the team are trying to push out the mid wave, set up vision in the enemy jungle, and push the vision line. LDLC, they know that, so they're just gonna, okay, we'll just drop Herald top. They're gonna easily get 2 turrets here. It doesn't even matter that Melanik is there. He doesn't realize he's getting flanked.
I mean, both these also coming from the front and the back, and as he gets pushed back in, there we go. There's another pick off for themselves. And like you mentioned, they're very happy with this trade. Ika, don't do it. Don't do it.
He's gonna do it.
He gonna do it. He does it again. He gets it slow, but now has to force out the flash. There's the curtain call opened up. Possibly trying to get the fourth shot. Oh, yike with the fancy feet.
Right, and you can see it. They end up getting that tier 2 turret, and the trade isn't even going to be able to come through for the side of GameWard, because Ragnar, he's there, he has the wave player, he's doing a little dance, saying, no, sorry, buddy, you don't get to trade this, and this is just so big. LDLC, you know what? They're definitely silencing my doubts right now with how well they're playing this game, how well they've been playing the map, and making sure that everything they take, they don't let GameWard manage to take anything of equal value. It's like always scraps. You get a turret, great, we get 2 turrets. Oh, you get a kill, we get 3 kills.
It's like trying to fight a Hydra, but instead, just like, I chop off one head and then suddenly 2 more will grow. Exactly, and it keeps on going more and more. It is the boss fight in every single Dark Souls game. It just somehow gets harder when you think you've won. But this right now might make things a little bit easier, taking out a jungler, but DOS is a very big boy. Nice stun alongside the trample too, but by far Checolat on the back end of it. He has to try to dash away, but this is the fight that I don't think we're expecting, considering Dragon's still 2 minutes away.
I think you see if you can find an angle on GameWard's side and try and force something if they make a mistake, but you don't want to push it too far, because you don't want to give away any more gold than you've already lost, because look what's on the table. The Baron in the top part of the lane. They're trying to get whatever damage they can. That's a kill.
Yeah, there you go. That's another 2 as well. He gets locked down, and that's what's trying to take it. Ragnar trying to get away as much as he can, as far as he can, but you cannot run from a LeBlanc. So la interruption, a shutdown for Checolat.
This is a big deal. You can go for the Baron because there is no jungler to go for the steal. It's going to be difficult for Exekick to get it with the rocket too. And look at this, Checolat, he's running interference. There's going to be another kill going through here. It's basically going to be a 2 versus 5.
And you have to try to stall this out as much as you can. And I think they managed to do so, considering both carries are up. But there's a slow. Melik wants to try to flank them, but they get out of curtain call range. And Exekick is quite strong. Luckily, the chains don't land.
Oh my god.
But are they going to return to the bear?
No, they can't. The spawn timers aren't long enough. Even with Ragnar not having teleport, you don't want to take this fight. You're still down a good amount of gold. This Jinx is still very, very strong, and that's why all it took was Aika and Exekick to be able to push up here. Maybe too much time was spent on trying to secure the kill on DOS, but either way, it's still a nice fight from GameWard. You do punish a few members of LDLC who were trying to get that Scuttle Crab, get that vision so that they don't have to worry about a Baron Sneak coming through from GameWard. But it is still not getting as much value as GameWard might have hoped.
Yeah, it's sadly, just one pick after the other cannot result in just 20 minutes of scaling and consistently good fights that LDLC have now built up for themselves. And in the next 30 seconds, a lot of this game will likely be decided.
Oh.
But perhaps...
That's big.
Yeah, a little bit sooner than that, because with that down, it's going to take a while for it to come back up.
Right, no long-range engage available, and you can see it. Checolat knows this, so now he can start getting aggressive, see who he can pick out. Even with DOS going in, no Shadow Surge is a big problem.
And really going to Camillus instead. I don't think this is the target you want to focus all your attention into, but no support being up might be quite nice. The Rockets just barely grazed by them and heading in your direction, beatdown. But still for now, there's one to set up as they keep doing this dance of death, la Valle de las Muertas, as I say.
They have to go. This is their last chance here if GameWard needs to take this dragon.
Yeah, but they managed to get it, because, look, GameWard don't even get close at all. I thought maybe Checolat might have been able to come in on the side of the Dragon Pit, but they want to keep going in for this LDLC. They don't have that long-range gauge anymore, but they also don't have their own setup either on the side of GameWard's. The current calls get open yet again, but they can just walk out of this. Ragnar is full health. He's not going to take any damage, and they're fine. That's soul for LDLC.
Man, that is really unfortunate. That was the best chance, I think, at a fight GameWard we're going to have. No ultimate on Aika. The Shadow Surge was unavailable, but they could couldn't get the angle. Doss and Ragnar were doing too good of a job playing interference, allowing the rest of the team to take the soul. So now Baron is the only thing you can hope for, but with the extra damage coming from this buff, you are in a tough position here, especially look at Exekick. This Jinx is at 3 items, scaled up tremendously, and at this point, Chocolat is going to have to find these creative angles. This is the thing you have to lean towards now if you're GameWard. You need a key pick, and you see this LeBlanc has the damage. He's been able to find people, especially with that Shadow Flame being built, a lot more AP, more Magic Pen, and a lot of damage being able to be done on some of these carries.
Yeah, but every single time, like you were mentioning, the Infernal change, sadly, seem out of reach, but this time they land. Doss needs to follow the CC, and luckily he has his mate beside him to try to disengage, and yeah, he lives to see another couple of minutes. But
oh, they're gonna they might force the Baron here, or they might try and make a play. No unbreakable will for this Alistar is actually a really big deal. It is a lot of how he survives these fights, soaks up some of the CC. So now they want to push, get a little deeper into this jungle, and see if they can catch somebody out. I like this call from GameWard. They recognize that there's an opening, but are they going to find anybody?
Yeah, because the biggest thing has to be is, well, if they try to force on this Baron, and also Exekick is still alive, that Hextech Rift will immediately just deal disgusting amounts of damage to every single person there due to just that static shift effect that it does give. So you want to make sure if you want to try to fight this, the ADC has to go.
Oh, wait, this is a big pick. Chocolat might get the kill.
Yeah, he gets it. That stopwatch too. He gets forced away. Good knock on the back end. If he's fine, he survives, and he walks out of range. But a look on the back end, Chocolat is gone. He forced too deep. The Chameleon is not the next target. There's the Heartbreaker, and they want to get one more.
Resetting.
We're saying ADC's got to go, but he takes them all out instead. That's 3 down. Gamers Ward gets torn apart one after another. And Inax with a sad crying Yumi will not live anymore. Goodbye. See you later. Sayonara.
Oh, okay. Manages to flash over the wall, which is really nice. But Ragnar, he doesn't care. The damage is done. He's still doing a bit of a dance. And man, that's tough. I think part of this is because GameWard just been so far behind to begin with. They thought they had an angle on Doss, and I respect that attempt. No unbreakable will. That was the best chance you were probably going to get. You take him out, maybe you can force something on the Baron. But you lose out in the fight, and we can see it in this replay. This is after that ultimate is gone. They find Doss out, and Chocolat is strong. He can do a lot of damage, but the stopwatch ends up buying so much time for the rest of the team to show up here. And then at this point, you start falling apart. The ultimates come through, and people just get destroyed.
And speaking of destroyed right now, I think LDLC can be very confident in the destroying that they are putting down to this other team that they currently have, and they can continue to do so.
Oh, teleport.
So strong. The pop onto the Jhin. You can't get away this time, they say, as he goes down first, and then support bot side gone for Gamers Ward, as that's a double kill for Ica. He's gonna be the mid laner that pops up today. Chocolat can do no harm. The assault sadly does miss for now, but they're gonna force down the base.
They could look for the end here. We're still looking at 20 seconds, Ravi. So much wave clear, 5 members versus 2, and not the most amount of wave clear on GameWard's side. They could push to finish it.
And they are definitely going to do so. There's gonna go, the tower's down.
They want the
kills. They want to pad their stats. They want to get as many kills as possible. And there we go. But they got 2 different cannons. They got Baron Minions, and they'll be able to rock them into their base. LDLC with a beautiful showing at the top of the day.
And this is a much better showing here from LDLC.